So this is exciting. This is a very different backdrop and a very different kind of little interview with the chubby crimper. Yay! Let's hear it for the chubby crimper. This sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? But this is your what sort of tag name or whatever you call
online persona, if you might. It's more of a sort of, for me, it was 2 words that describe exactly who I am at this point in time. I'm a little bit overweight and I probably need to lose some weight. And I like climbing, and crimps are a climbing hold, so it was just an easy way to go about it. And it's alliteration, everyone loves alliteration.
Oh, we've got to have alliteration, I'm a big fan. But his real name, by the way, is Lewis Roberts. So when I say Lewis, don't think I'm talking to myself, could get a bit confusing.
It's a great name though. So.
Yeah, it is. So I thought it would be great to investigate things to do with climbing, because I'm a real newbie on this. Lewis has been going a lot longer, and how they are completely relevant to us in everyday life and in terms of this podcast as we're all growing our businesses or developing at work or whatever it is, because this is human stuff. Isn't it? Human.
At the end of the day, I think everything relates to everything, doesn't it? You know, one thing can seem completely devoid of anything that's similar to what you're doing in life, but I mean, it's about taking leaps and taking risks, and we do the same thing when we're up a wall.
Literally, with the leaps, yeah, but we'll come to that in a minute. I haven't got very good at doing leaps. Lewis just observed me trying to do a climb that was a little bit too tricky. But let's think about this term. Well, it's not a term, it's 2 words put together. That Lewis came up with when we were having a chat about what we talked about. And it was disconnect from expectations.
Yeah.
Right, go for it. You've got the floor.
So I always think of, like, when we go into a situation, we always have an expectation of what things are going to be like, what other people are going to think about how we are dealing with the situation, how we are performing, whatever it might be. And I think something really important to always think about, and something I've always been very good at, is just disconnecting from what those expectations might be. Sometimes people will say to you, oh, well, you know, you can't be possibly doing this, or you can't try this hard, or you can't buy this thing because you're not in a position where you're good enough, or, you know, maybe you're not experienced enough, or anything along those lines. And I think it's honestly such complete rubbish so often. Being able to go into a scenario and think about why it's benefiting you, what you're gaining, how it's affecting you personally, and completely becoming introverted in that sort of sense with, you know, for me it was, I'm in a really awful place in my life and I've gone to climb and I've been able to compete with only myself and no one else. I don't feel like I have to stack up to anyone else's expectations or anyone else's ideas of how good I might be or might not be. It didn't matter what my body type was, or, you know, where I was in my position with my fitness. I could go in and I could do it all on my own terms and my own, you know, and I could put in all the effort that I wanted to, and I got back what I put into it. And that was for me the most important bit, because I was essentially not looking for anything. I wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't thinking, oh, I will gain this or I'll gain that. I went in completely blind and allowed it to be a very personal experience. And that was a huge thing for me, because I was already able to sort of completely separate it from everything else I'd done and make it its own entire thing, and it kind of takes you away from everything else that you would struggle with at times. So while I have integrated more and I've sort of, you know, made it much less of just a me thing, and now I've got, you know, I work in the industry, I have friends within the industry, I've been doing it for many, many years, and it, you know, you evolve as, you know, your hobbies change. You know, it's now a massive part of my life rather than this little thing. But allowing it something to start like that is a really, I think, important part of trying to find what you actually like and enjoy and what helps you.
I'm so there. Now, you mentioned the introvert word came up there, and this comes up quite a lot in my podcast episodes because it's another human thing. Do you identify as an introvert,
I think
Lewis?
It depends on who you'd be talking to,
Yes.
who describes me as an introvert or an extrovert. I think everyone who knows me would call me an extrovert. I'm very, very good at completely sort of lying almost about who I am and creating this completely otherworldly version of who I am. Personally, I always have found it really difficult to put myself into groups and to integrate with other people until I'm there. I find and this is where, like, expectation, I'm going to tie it in, you know, the expectation of that awful scenario, the worst possible thing that could occur. Anything could go wrong, absolutely. But expecting that always makes me go, and now I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take that leap. I'm not going to be involved in that group of people. I'm not going to risk this sort of embarrassment. But as soon as I do it, as soon as I give myself that push and go, you know what, sod off, go and do it. Stop listening to yourself and listen to, the people who are saying, oh, it'll be great and all this rubbish. And whenever I do that, I tend to enjoy what I'm doing. And then I become very confident and very outgoing and very outspoken. And so that's why other people see me very much as, oh, he's an absolute nutter. He'll speak his mind, say whatever all the time. And that's because that's how I am when I'm experiencing something I enjoy and I'm happy. But the beforehand is a very different experience.
Aligned, very aligned, across many generations, I hasten to say, but very aligned. Yes, likewise, people would think of me as an extrovert. I mean, I'm an actor, for goodness sakes. I do entertainment, I do crazy things on stages and all the rest of it. And when I go, say, business-wise into a networking event, they will see me, as fully out there, because I don't know about you, but I have to up my energy level.
Yeah.
I have to, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a different mindset that you adopt at a certain time when you need to and as and when you need to. I find it's definitely gotten easier the more time I've spent sort of doing that and kind of flicking back and forth between. But it's definitely something that you have to practice and almost a skill that you end up putting out there. And I think everyone needs to practice doing that.
Good. This is so good. This is so good. Right, let's. We cannot possibly be at a climbing wall talking about this kind of thing without going into fear. Mm-hmm. Right. So Lewis actually just spotted me trying, as I say, a route that was
valiantly, may I add, very valiant efforts.
Valiant's a great word. We use that. So I've done some ones that I now almost describe as easy, which is hilarious because obviously only a few months into this, they would not have been described as easy by me originally. So this is how it works, isn't it? This is how it works. Familiarity and you know what you... But then you get to this point where you've got to face certain fears, and one of them, of course, is the fear of falling, even although you're on a rope. And you said people who struggle with that mental part of it. It's not surprising, is it? So give us a bit on the old fear factor.
So it's something this is an entirely experience of other people because I am quite literally the definition of someone who doesn't really have a self-preservation module. I will try anything regardless of that sort of level of danger. I've never had an issue with falling off. In fact, I've always scared people because I will fall off in the worst possible ways. Do not follow my example. It isn't a good one. But it's all from other people's experiences and how I've experienced it with other people. The funny thing about climbing is that there's such an intrinsic link between not a fear of heights per se. A lot of people say they're afraid of heights when really we're afraid of not being in control of a situation at height. And I think climbing is the essence of it is being not in control for very short periods of time and wrestling that control back with whether it be good climbing technique or a level of strength or finding a particularly good hold or foothold that makes you feel more comfortable. And when you're in that scenario and you've got comfortable hands and feet, all of a sudden you'll find that you're not scared. It's only when you're in a position where you are no longer able to fully control that scenario that you think, oh right, okay, now I don't feel comfortable. And so being able to relinquish that control and sort of say, yeah, I'm going to try even though I don't think I can, or I don't think I have control of this scenario, and being able to sort of just throw a hand, stick a leg up, and see how that goes. Because if it goes, well, then you do an extra move, and that feels good. That's endorphins, dopamine, right in your brain. Everyone loves that. If you don't do it, then you fall, and you hit the rope, and you get lowered down just like you do every time you top a route you can do. And of course, there's differing levels of, you talk about, top roping or bouldering or lead climbing, but essentially for me, it's always about allowing yourself to meet that worst possible expectation, whether it is you're falling. And the first time you do it, you'll go, why on earth was I afraid of this for so long? Like, what on earth have I been spending on? I could have done all these climbs, I could have tried every single one, and I haven't done because I've let the fear of this very minor occurrence happen. I think I always like to justify it as in like a centre like this would not exist if every other day there were people mangled on the floor. You know, it wouldn't happen. You know, of course injuries occur. You know, climbing is a semi-dangerous sport in a much, you know, much broader sense. It can be a dangerous sport, but we make sure it's as safe as physically possible. As long as you're doing everything the way you should be. It genuinely is. I've had one major injury from climbing, and it's because I was a prat.
Yeah. Well, we won't obviously dwell on that, but this is the thing, isn't it? It's that control thing. This is really interesting. Also perfectionism, because I don't think of myself as a perfectionist, but all these routes here are coloured, okay? So if you don't know much about climbing, you know, so you follow a certain colour up the wall, and it's a graded route. And my partner has sort of said things like, look, just do it what's called kind of rainbow, isn't it? So, you know, don't worry about the colours, just get to the top any way you like. When you start, that seems like a really good idea. So my brain says, okay, no, I won't, I will not do it. It's cheating, it's cheating, it's cheating. And yeah,
I unfortunately will have to agree with you, because I also cannot do that. I'm far too competitive myself. I will always think to myself, well, what if I could just do the one that's a challenge, you know? But to a degree, practicing your movement and doing all that sort of stuff is more important than going to the top of a wall.
Yes.
So like, if you're getting to the top and you're able to sort of break through your initial fear of just getting to the top of a wall, whether it's a boulder wall or a rope wall, getting to the top is the first step along that journey, and then you can sort of tie into, you know, the difficulty of things, sort of the technique, and then you start talking about, you know, as we were talking about earlier, the control over situations and things. And it's not a bad way to get started, but I think the best thing about climbing, and I've always said, is like that internal self-competition. Is I never think to myself, I want to do this because my friend has done it, or I want to do this because this person's done it. I want to do it because it's hard for me. I want to do it because if I do it, I've proven that I can. And that internal competition, it's nothing to do with anyone else. No one else even has to care. In fact, some of the times I've had my favourite moments in climbing have been, like, for example, my wife getting up a climb, which for me would be extremely easy. It would be something I wouldn't even think about. I would just come down. But for her, it was a massive achievement to overcome the fear, to have tried it so many times, to have struggled, and then she got down and we had a lovely hug and it was amazing. And it was just that feeling of, you've done something which is difficult for you. Not for anyone else, not for any other soul on earth, but for you. And that achievement was awesome to be part of. It was really cool. And I think everyone can indulge in that. You don't have to be an amazing climber. You don't have to be someone who's out making videos on real boulders, out doing crazy things. You can just be a regular person doing regular things which are hard for you, and that on its own should be respected.
I value that, exactly, because in this social media flooded world, to do so, I have found that, you know, I don't really have, I've occasionally posted a couple of bits, but bearing in mind I'm coming every week, you know, you would be flooded with all sorts of photos and opportunities and, you know, and all the rest of it. And I'm not, because it doesn't really occur to me. I mean, I've only sort of occasionally do it, so this would actually make quite a useful little video, but not, this is really interesting to me, because that whole bit of, I need to validate this by sharing it. I need people to like, love, and spread all this and go viral with this. Hardly likely. It doesn't seem to really exist, and I think that must apply in lots of other areas of life. We need to regain that perspective that we don't actually, this will exist without it being on social media.
I mean, as I say, I run my own social media page, you know, to a degree, and as I say, again, not expecting to be famous, but for me it's more about my own journey and sort of building up. You know, I can sit back and I can look and think, God, remember when this was something I really struggled with, and I remember being super pleased with it, and now I can relate that exact same feeling to something which I've gotten better at, and I'm now doing the exact same thing, but maybe with slightly worse holds, or they're slightly further away. And it really isn't a way for me to sort of say, oh, everyone look at the things I'm doing. It's more of a way for me to go, look at all these things I've done.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, my husband, long time climber, fills in the logbooks and all the whatever it is, the international thing that you fill in and
UKC.
tick. UKC. There we go. Yes, UKC. And it is quite funny because he's not doing it for anyone else. He is literally doing that to log his achievements and his journey. And I think that's got to be a huge takeaway from this conversation, actually, because it's different from some of the traps that we're falling into or so easily sucked into in this world. Anything else?
I think the main thing for me was I got into climbing when I was, as I say, like in a really bad position in life. I was pre-COVID, made redundant, all this rubbish, whatever we want to talk about is worthless meaning words. It's just, I got into climbing as a way to make myself feel better. And it worked immensely, it's brilliant. But like it feels really scary. It feels like a thing that you would never want to do, never be good at. It feels like something that maybe you're too short and that makes you worried. It makes you, maybe you're a bit too heavy like I would have been.
Too old.
Too old, really common one. I see people 80, 90 crushing absolutely harder than I can. But genuinely, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, your background, anything like that, there is a climb out here on the wall set just for you that you could do and you could have a really good time on. Give it a go. It is well worth doing, even if you come along and you hate it, which you might do. We're all different, but it's well worth putting yourself in a position where you're not 100% comfortable, putting yourself out of your comfort zone, doing something a bit mad, and you might just find that it's your new best favourite thing.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And it is. Did you label yourself as a sporty person or non-sporty person as you were growing up?
Oh, I've wavered to and from on that line because I was very skinny and very athletic when I was younger, and then went to university, met my now wife, drank a lot of beer, and that sportiness faded very quickly away. But now I've gotten, climbing has helped me get back into football, which I do every week, which I used to be like a very common thing for me because I integrated into climbing, so why not a new football group? So I did that, and that gave me the confidence to go and do another sport, which I've always loved and fell out of love with because, I let my waist go a bit further than I wanted to. And so it gave me that confidence to do other things.
It's a real knock-on effect because then when you feel physically stronger and you sort of opened your brain into a new place. And because I jokingly said, this is I actually think I am quite sporty. And all through school, all through growing up, I was the last one to be picked for the teams. I was a bit chubby as a kid, but I just got the label because certainly back in the day, you were, maybe even now, very, very quickly labelled. Mm-hmm. So I was good at art, and then I was good at drama. So and I haven't clung on to, I'm good at drama. I'm an actor. That's what I do. I'm not going to do climbing. My stage is the theatre. My whatever it is. Because I've evolved, and all of a sudden, hey Presley, you think, do you know what? I think I could have been good at netball and lacrosse, and not been last picked. Obviously, I can't relive those days, Lewis, which it's really sad. No, it's fine. I am rebirthing as a sporty kind of mentality now, in the same year that I'm collecting my pension. So there we go. Go for it.
Absolutely. Go and dive in.
Thank you so much. I think this is fascinating. I think we could probably talk for another 3 hours, but technically you're supposed to be working.
Oh, no,
and I'm supposed to be climbing. So